Hey, welcome back. This is going to be a video that absolutely nobody asked for, but I'm going to give it to you anyways because this originally started as a Civic SI channel and it is now going to transform into a Civic Type R channel because if you've seen my recent posts, I am going to be getting rid of this car and getting a new FL5 Type R in Championship White. So before I go and get the car, I gotta remove all the parts on this car, which hopefully I have all the pieces for. So yeah, this is just gonna be a video of me parting out the car and taking off everything that pretty much started this channel. And hopefully you guys stay for the FL5 and stuff that goes into trying to make that car, you know, my own. And I hope you stay along for the ride. I know a lot of you followed me because of SI content, but I think you'll really enjoy the Type R content that I'll put out. So let's go ahead and start removing stuff out of the car. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna take off, well, really second thing, I already took off my Acuity Poco insulated shift knob, which is an amazing shift knob, by the way. And I went ahead and installed the stock shift knob, which I think is atrocious. Some of you guys like it, I'm not a fan, but if you don't like your stock shift knob on your side, definitely go with Acuity's Poco shift knob. And if you can fork up the extra coin, do the insulated because it'll save your hand from getting burnt in the summertime and it's not freezing cold in the wintertime. I made a video on it and it works great. I put my little thermal camera to it and you can see the difference between the insulated shift knob and a regular aluminum shift knob. But second thing I'm going to take off is going to be the PRL strut bar, their throwback strut bar, and I'm keeping that because I can put it on the FL5, so this is just going to get swapped over onto the FL5. It's going to be one of the first things I do to the car, so let's go ahead and do it. All we need is a 14 mil, and that's it. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going ahead and working on removing the downpipe. I already removed all the bolts from underneath, so just kind of like a quick tip, PRL's hardware is these Allen key bolts. So what I've learned that when installing and removing these, it's best if you have one of these. They have a hex head on them. Let's see. There you go. And it just makes, because they're so long, it just makes installing these and removing them so much easier, especially if you have a ratchet like this one. So get yourself one of these. I'll leave it down in the description box below. I got these from Lowe's, but I'm sure you can probably find them on Amazon. Yeah, for the bolts that are on the downpipe, if you watch my downpipe install video, it's pretty straightforward. Also, you are going to need, if I could just manage to secure my tools, when removing the O2 sensor, you're going to need one of these. This is a 7/8. You can rent it from AutoZone or you can just buy one. They're kind of expensive and you only really need them when you're removing O2 sensors, so I don't know if it's worth buying, but definitely rent it for AutoZone. It's pretty cheap. I don't remember what it was, but it's cheap. Cheaper than buying one. And yeah, so these are 14 mil, and once I undo these on the downpipe, it should come right out. Also, I recommend that you don't use a breaker bar or anything that puts a lot of leverage on these bolts because the studs will snap off. It's a pretty common thing that happens. There's so much heat at this turbo manifold that it just rusts these studs and these bolts on there, and you just have to be really patient. I use an impact gun just because I found that to be the best thing to break these loose. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this intake hose. It'll probably just make my life a lot easier. So in order to zap out the back two, I'm using an extension, a universal, and then a deep well. There we go. So the stock downpipe is back on. I think the final thing that I'm going to do for tonight, at least, is going to be removing the PRO flex fuel sensor, and I'll probably do the rest of it tomorrow. And what's left to do is going to be the intake, front pipe, exhaust, and intercooler. So hopefully that won't take too much time. But yeah, it's getting kind of late already this first day. So let's go ahead and take off the flex fuel sensor. All it really is a couple of 10mm bolts and the new PRO flex fuel sensor. They recently just came out with. It uses the stock fuel line, so all you have to do is remove the sensor itself, and the fuel line that you remove from the sensor, just plug it back into the regular line and you'll be good to go. Now when you remove it, be careful, there is going to be fuel, so make sure there's nothing that could possibly catch fire. Make sure the battery is disconnected. And then whenever you go to turn the car back on, I would cycle the power on and off just so you can prime the fuel pump and you can build pressure in the system and you won't have any issues starting up. Just a tip. So let's go ahead and remove the flex fuel sensor. Make sure you got your hand ready to catch the bolt. Okay, so you need a little flathead just to undo these clips. There we go. Now, be ready. All right, so I got it off camera because it was taking too long. But when you do get it off, be careful. This thing is actually filled with fuel, and it'll come pouring out. Make sure that you take these off because you need to put them back on to use on the stock line. Now, this is a part of the car, so you have to just squeeze it from the back side and it should come out. Okay, there we go. Now time to take this bracket off. These rubber grommets that are in this bracket actually go onto the stock bracket. So if you do remove if you part out your car, don't forget to remove these from this bracket. Okay, so I got the stock bracket back. Here we took this clip off of the flex fuel sensor, so we gotta put it back. And I believe it goes in this orientation. We're gonna find out. But I put the rubber grommets back on. We're gonna reuse the stock hardware. Let's do one at a time. I am upside down. Remember to always hand start your hardware. You don't want to cross thread anything using power tools. Now, this is the cover. Again, everything on here is pretty much 10 millimeters. I don't think anything on here was more or less. Okay, there's a 10 mil that goes in the bottom. All right, now we just have to disconnect all the connectors for the flex fuel sensor. Okay, so it's officially the next day. To kind of sum up what we've done so far, I've taken out the downpipe. I did the front pipe off camera because that was a pain and I didn't feel like bringing a camera down underneath the car with me. So I'm back to the stock downpipe, stock front pipe. I did the flex fuel sensor, I removed that. And now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the PRL high volume intake along with the duct that's underneath it. And then I'm going to do the intercooler and the intercooler piping kit. And after that, all I have left to remove is the 271 exhaust. So hopefully I can do all of this in less than 2 hours. Currently it's 6 p.m. and I'd like to get this done before 8, so let's see if we get it done. Okay, so to remove the intake, first thing I got to do is undo the clamp holding the duct to the top of the top portion of the intake. And the best way to do that is from the top or from the bottom. If you take out the splash guard, you could probably do it from down there, but all you need is a flat head, and then hopefully we can pull this up. All right, I gotta take these two 10 mils off. Next, we can take off these plastic rivets. That separates that. I'm gonna undo this bracket. I had already done this screw right here. That's why you didn't see it. I forgot to record it, but don't forget about this bottom one if you're removing this again. Okay, so the duct is still down there. I'm gonna have to find where my Allen keys went to take it out. but I think I can just remove the bumper and take it off with the 10 mil that's holding the bracket with the Allen keys. But the bumper has to come off anyways because I need to take out the intercooler and the intercooler piping. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on removing the piping first, then the intercooler, and finish it up with the duct. And should be done. Put the stock intercooler back in, intercooler piping, and yeah, that should be it. Okay, so front bumper is off. I'm sure you saw in the video I had a little bit of trouble. I accidentally forgot to take one of the little plastic rivets off. So make sure you take every plastic rivet off before you start tearing out your bumper. But yeah, this is time to remove probably one of the best upgrades that you could do to your car, the intercooler. I do have the bigger end tank and the charge piping, so this should all come out pretty easy. It's all stock hardware, and yeah, we could put the super tiny intercooler back on. That was a pain. That silicone hose was stuck to where it connects to the intercooler. There we go. That's out. Okay, now that the PRL intercooler's out, it's time to get to work on the charge piping. That should be pretty straightforward. The top section is going to be the more complicated of the two, and then the hot side of the intercooler is going to be the more difficult side, just because there's not a lot of room there. But we'll make it work. Just gotta wiggle it loose. Dang it. Come on. All right. So the easiest way is to pull from the bottom. There we go. Next is going to be the top section. I can already tell it's going to be a pain to get off. All right, I gotta remove the bracket from the block. Okay, so I took the battery out, and that kind of made things a little easier. And then I just sprayed some alcohol, some rubbing alcohol, on the portion of the charge piping where the silicone hose meets the actual metal metal part of the charge piping, and that gave it enough lubrication to disconnect the two. Now I'm just gonna try and finesse this so it comes out. dear Lord. I don't remember this being so difficult. I lied. It's always been this difficult. All right, there we go. Now I gotta transfer everything to the old charge piping. Okay, so the top section of the driver's side intercooler piping is in. Sensors on, both sensors are on. The vacuum line is on. Just gotta grab this. And now I'm about to remove the duct for the intake with a 3mm Allen wrench. And then that should be everything for the intake. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, now I'm gonna put the second half of the driver's side intercooler piping. So for those of you that always ask me about the resonator delete kit, this is the intercooler piping. This connects up to the driver's side, the driver side of the intercooler. And this is where there would usually be a resonator. And what it does is it dampens like your turbo noses and stuff. Because if you're not into cars, you probably want your car as quiet as possible. But for those of us that enjoy cars, we want to hear those sounds. So this is what the delete kit is. Usually there's a big resonator here. You remove it and you put this in its place to blank it out, and that's it. No, you don't need the resonator kit if you're getting an upgraded charge pipe. Yes, you need a resonator kit if you have the OEM charge piping. I get this question all the time. So this is going to be the passenger side charge piping. This is actually an OEM part, so we need to reuse this. Just letting you know in case you get kind of confused and you think you're missing something. This is the OEM part. I know it can go, I know after we install something it might be a very long time before, you know, we remove it and try to remember how everything goes. This part always sucks because there's hardly any room for your hand in here. So I'm gonna try and shove it from the bottom again. Okay, so when we go to install the stock intercooler, you're gonna have to get the OEM brackets for the stock intercooler. These are the PRL intercooler brackets, and you have to take out the grommets and put them back on to the OEM one. Just so you don't waste time trying to put these on that one like I just did for 5 minutes until I realized they're not the ones for this intercooler. The more you know. All that's left to do is just install the stock intake. Shouldn't be very hard at all. Somebody's alarm's going off. But here is the other part of the resonator delete kit that goes on the stock intake. So once again, if you don't have a stock intake, you don't need the resonator delete kit. So quit asking me. I'm kidding. I always answer you guys. I know it's kind of hard whenever you're new to cars, but yeah, the resonator delete kit is on the stock intake and the stock charge piping. And if you have an upgraded intake and an upgraded charge piping, you don't need the resonator kit. If you have the upgraded intake but not the piping, then you will need half of it, and vice versa. So yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and put this back in there. Okay, so this just goes right into place and snaps in through that grommet. Okay. All right. Next, we have this right here. All right, there we go. Tell you what, this thing is pretty dangerous. Okay. This is the upgraded PRL filter. It's still really good and it's still oily. Okay. And that. Make sure all that's clean. All right. This is the bolt that goes down there. Don't forget to transfer over your MAF sensor. It does go a specific way. Make sure you follow. There's going to be an arrow on the MAF sensor pointing which way the airflow is going. Obviously, it's going to flow towards the turbocharger. So keep that in mind and plug in the MAF sensor. And yeah, that's it. Okay, so we are pretty much done. Flex fuel sensor, intake, intercooler charge piping, downpipe, front pipe. Now all I have left to do is put the battery back in and do the exhaust. So I'm not going to film the exhaust because I have to be under the car and it's going to be a pain. So if you want to see how I install the exhaust, you're just going to have to watch the 271 exhaust install video. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and put the battery back on and jack the car up so that way I can get underneath and take off the exhaust and put on the old one, which I think taking off the 271 is going to be easy. Installing the old ones is what's going to be hard, so we shall see. It's probably going to be like a 2-hour adventure. But anyways, let's get it done. All right, well, I was able to get the stock exhaust on all by myself. That was the last, well, one of the last things. I unlocked the K-tuner from the car and I just cleaned the car out. So this is going to be probably the last time that you'll see the red Civic SI that pretty much started this channel. So it's kind of a bittersweet moment for me. It's kind of crazy how different the car is when you put every bolt on, or when you take off every bolt on that you put on this car and you do that all at once and you go back to stock all at once. It's crazy how much you really can appreciate what you've done to the car and how it really changed the car. But with that being said, guys, I think this is going to be the end of the video, and the next time that you see me, you're probably going to see an FL5 Type R in this garage. So I'll see you next time.